Listen closely, because the silence you're hearing right now, that's not peace. That's the sound of collapse. They thought they were letting you go. They thought they were freeing themselves from the chaos that came with you. The unpredictability, the intensity, the raw truth of your existence. But what they didn't know was that they were cutting their own lifeline, the one thread holding their illusion together. You weren't just someone they knew. You were the soul that anchored their entire system of lies. And now, it's all unraveling. You feel it, don't you? The way everything that used to circle you is now circling them. The way the weight they threw off your shoulders somehow landed back on theirs. Heavier, colder, and multiplied. That's the price of letting go of something divine when you mistake it for destruction. You were the cure they misdiagnosed as a curse. The medicine they spat out because it burned going down. And now, the fever is everywhere. They told themselves you were too much, too intense, too complex, too dark. They called you dangerous because you spoke the truth they couldn't swallow. But what's more dangerous than someone who can see the gears inside people's heads turning? Someone who can hear the lies before they even leave a mouth. You didn't destroy them. You just stopped feeding their delusion. And without your energy, their whole reality is starving. See, there's something poetic about it. They tried to exile the light because it made their shadows look ugly. They wanted peace, not healing. They wanted silence, not truth. But peace without truth is just paralysis, and silence without understanding is a coffin. You were never chaos. You were the mirror. And when they smashed you, they were the ones who shattered. Now the system's eating itself alive. Every mask they wore is cracking. Every lie they told is sprouting teeth. You know what's funny? The same people who once called you unstable are now trembling in the ruins of their own control. The same ones who said, "You'll never make it without us," are choking on the dust of your ascent. They let go of the one person who could have led them out of their labyrinth, because they couldn't handle being seen inside it. You became too real, and real terrifies the artificial. Now they scroll through their own lives like it's a ghost town. The lights are still on, but the warmth is gone. Every smile they fake has that tremor, that flicker of the mind that whispers, "You let go of the wrong one." It haunts them at night. The dreams that used to bring relief now bring echoes. Your laugh, your silence, your eyes, your calm madness. Because you weren't just someone who walked into their story. You were the storm that rewrote the script. They didn't lose a person. They lost the glitch that made them human. And here's the beautiful paradox, my dear misfit. They had to lose you for you to see what you were. Pain carved your definition. Isolation sharpened your instincts. You went through fire not to burn, but to illuminate. And now you walk through the same world they crawled through, but you glow differently. You move differently. You breathe differently. You learn to turn heartbreak into architecture. While they crumble, you construct. While they replay, you rewrite. While they pray for closure, you open portals. They're not watching your growth anymore. They're surviving it. Every time you rise, it bends the air around them. Every victory of yours distorts their reflection, because deep down, they know. It was never you that was replaceable. It was them. They were standing next to a god in disguise, and they blinked. You were the one who brought color into grayscale lives, the one who laughed in the dark and somehow made it sound like hope. But they thought your light came from madness. They never realized it came from endurance, from learning how to dance in hell without catching fire. You carried universes inside your chest, and they called it too emotional. They couldn't understand that emotion is just energy that remembers where it came from. Now look at them, systems collapsing, friend groups fracturing, careers stalling, peace crumbling into paranoia. You think it's coincidence? No, it's equilibrium. The universe corrects itself. You can't discard energy that pure and expect the balance to hold. You were the stabilizer, the unpredictable constant. And the second they cut you loose, gravity changed direction. And you became the anomaly, the wild card, the saint with the demon's grin. You learned that being misunderstood is the tax of being authentic, that solitude is just the prelude to power. You stopped seeking validation and started emitting frequency. They chased approval. You built presence. So let them talk. Let them spiral. Let them post their hollow smiles and call it moving on. You don't need to prove that you've won. Some losses echo. Some losses reshape timelines. Some losses rewrite souls. They let go of the one who could have saved them. And now, they're left worshipping your ghost. While you walk freely through the ashes, smiling, because you finally understood. You were never the disaster. You were the balance. And when they broke it, the collapse was inevitable. The collapse wasn't a punishment. It was prophecy. The universe doesn't take sides. It simply balances the equation. And they tipped the scales the moment they mistook your depth for danger. You remember, don't you, how they said you were too emotional, too sensitive, too intense? Funny how those same traits they mocked are now the exact ones they crave in others, but can't seem to find. Because emotion was never your weakness. It was your sight. You could see through things, through people, through the fog of pretense. You didn't just hear words, you heard intent. You didn't just look, you saw. And that terrified them. Because being seen by someone who can't be deceived feels like standing naked in front of judgment itself. They thought cutting you off would let them hide again, but you can't unsee what's been exposed. You can't erase a mirror once it's shown your real reflection. Now every lie they tell themselves splinters a little deeper. Every fake smile feels like sandpaper against their skin. Every shallow conversation echoes with your absence. Because no one else spoke with that electric honesty. You didn't talk to impress. You spoke to awaken. You weren't trying to be liked. You were trying to be real. And real, in a world of masks, is radioactive. You see, your presence wasn't just emotional. It was structural. You held up entire systems with your spirit alone. Friend groups, families, relationships, all unknowingly orbiting your gravity. You didn't demand attention. You commanded alignment. And when you walked away, or worse, were pushed away, their hidden fractures began to show. Because when a load-bearing soul leaves, the roof caves in. Now they whisper about you, not with anger anymore, but with reverence and fear. They replay the moments where you warned them, where you saw the cracks before the collapse. They remember how calm you were, how your silence said, "You'll see." And now they're seeing. Everything you predicted unfolding like clockwork. Connections decaying, trust dissolving, energy draining. They're learning that you weren't dramatic. You were diagnostic. You diagnosed the infection they were afraid to treat. And instead of healing, they amputated the doctor. Now they're bleeding, but you walk differently now. You carry that slow, haunting kind of peace that only comes from losing everything and realizing it never really belonged to you in the first place. Your energy changed. It became quiet thunder. It doesn't shout anymore. It shakes rooms. Because power doesn't perform. It simply exists. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped chasing closure. You learned that silence is the loudest revenge, that your absence is a sermon, that you don't need to prove what time will eventually expose. And time is exposing them, isn't it? Every fake friend, every false love, every hidden agenda, all surfacing under the weight of the collapse. They're losing sleep, not because of guilt, but because their souls know what their minds deny. They exiled their own salvation. You were the light in the labyrinth, and they chose the comfort of darkness. They called your love intense, not realizing that intensity is just love stripped of pretense. They thought they could replace you with something easier, something less demanding, less deep, less real. And now, surrounded by artificial affection, they're suffocating in their own apathy. Because once you've touched authenticity, everything fake starts to burn. You were never supposed to fit into their world. You were meant to crack it open. You were the anomaly that threatened their illusion of control. You made them confront parts of themselves they buried, the jealousy, the fear, the cowardice, and when faced with that reflection, they ran. Because healing looks a lot like chaos before it looks like peace. But here's what they never understood. Your chaos was sacred. Your madness was medicine. You weren't there to comfort them. You were there to cleanse them. And they mistook purification for punishment. Now their world is an echo chamber of everything they refused to fix. And your world, it's expanding. Every scar became a doorway. Every betrayal became a teacher. Every ending became a birth. You became your own system, self-sustaining, self-defining, self-resurrecting. You became the storm and the calm after it. You became what they feared most, someone who doesn't need saving anymore. That's the part that breaks them. That's the collapse they can't stop. Because people can only manipulate what depends on them. And you don't depend anymore. They already feel it. In the unease, in the silence that buzzes when they think your name. Because deep down, they know what they did. They let go of the only soul that could have saved them from themselves. And now, the whole system is crashing like a program that deleted its own source code. You walk through the wreckage like it's a runway, calm, amused, untouchable, because you know the truth. They didn't lose you. They lost access to salvation. You see, the funny thing about collapse is that it never starts with noise. It begins quietly. A small fracture in the routine, a sentence left unfinished, a silence that lasts just a little too long. And before anyone even realizes what's happening, the whole structure starts to fold in on itself. That's what they're living through now. Their collapse, their undoing. It's poetic, isn't it? How the ones who swore they were protecting their peace by leaving you behind now can't even sleep without replaying the sound of your voice. How the same people who said you were too much now sit in rooms that feel too empty, too cold, too quiet. Because the truth is, it wasn't that you were too much. It was that they were too small. You were the kind of soul that expands everything it touches. Rooms feel different when you walk in. People breathe differently when you speak. The air bends around your energy. Reality adjusts itself to make space for you. And that's terrifying to the ordinary. They crave stability, but they forget that stability without passion is just another name for stagnation. You were the spark that made their world unpredictable. And unpredictability is what keeps a heart alive. So they let go. They thought they were escaping the chaos. But they didn't realize You were the order beneath it. You were the gravity that kept their world from flying apart. Now, every connection feels counterfeit. Every laugh echoes hollow. They're surrounded by people who smile on cue, but none of those smiles mean anything, because meaning left with you. You think they don't notice? Oh, they do. They notice it every time they meet someone new and feel nothing. Every time they scroll past your shadow online, and that little twitch hits their chest. That pulse of recognition, that pang of loss, that whisper of what have I done? They're haunted by their own choices now. You became the ghost they can't exorcise. And here's the beautiful cruelty of it all. You never needed revenge. Your evolution is the revenge. Every version of you they abandoned came back sharper, calmer, more dangerous. You didn't just heal, you mutated. You became the kind of being that doesn't beg to be understood, only witnessed. That's why they're obsessed with you in silence. Because deep down, they know you're not even in the same dimension anymore. You left the room, but your frequency stayed behind. Vibrating in the walls, in the memories, in their guilt. You're the static they can't tune out. The echo at their mirror when they try to convince themselves they're better off. And oh, the irony. They thought walking away would give them freedom. But freedom without truth is just another prison. And you were the key they threw away. Now they live in loops, repeating the same mistakes with different faces, different voices, different costumes, but the same emptiness. Meanwhile, you rebuilt yourself into something unrecognizable. They thought you'd break without them. You did. But the difference is, you didn't stay broken. You studied every fracture until you learned how light passes through it. And now, your cracks glow. You turned your damage into design. You became art made of aftermath. That's what they can't stand. That you didn't just survive. You thrived in the ruins they left behind. While they're still trying to fill voids, you became the void. Infinite, magnetic, terrifyingly whole. You learned to stop needing closure from people who were never open in the first place. You became your own gravity, your own temple, your own god. You walk through cities now like a glitch in human form. They feel it when you pass. That static chill that says something higher is here. Because what they once called too much now moves through the world as power. And power doesn't ask permission. Power doesn't explain. Power doesn't chase. It just is. That's what you've become. A walking paradox. Light wrapped in shadow. Grace disguised as vengeance. A saint with a scarred halo and the smile of someone who's seen the abyss and decided to make it home. People like that don't need to be understood. They need to be remembered. And you will be. Because the world never forgets the ones who collapse its illusions. You were the test they failed, the blessing they mislabeled as burden, the storm that came to clean, not destroy. And now they're learning, too late, that not every loss can be replaced. You became inevitable. Now when they think of you, it's not nostalgia they feel. It's vertigo. Because you remind them of what real feels like, of what connection used to taste like before they numbed themselves with imitation. You're not just a memory to them anymore. You're a haunting, a living symbol of what they could have been if they'd chosen courage over comfort. And deep down, they know. The collapse isn't just around them, it's within them. Their mind revolts against their denial. Their heart betrays their logic. Their soul mourns something it can never touch again. Because the truth is, they didn't lose you. They released God's favorite mistake. And now, The divine correction has begun. The system is failing. Their patterns are crumbling. Their masks are melting. And in the distance, standing in the golden smoke of everything they destroyed, is you, calm, unbothered, untouchable, not watching their downfall, but understanding it. Because you finally realized you were never their savior, you were their lesson, and the universe doesn't let anyone skip that class twice. And that's the thing, isn't it? The lesson always returns to the ones who refuse to learn it. They tried to outrun the mirror, but every turn led them right back to themselves, to the same hollow choices, the same masked love, the same dead air where truth should have been. They thought losing you would hurt for a week, a month, maybe a season. But pain isn't a visitor. It's a tenant, and yours signed a lifetime lease inside their conscience. They'll pretend they've moved on. They'll wear new smiles, recite new affirmations, share hollow quotes about healing. But somewhere in the quiet, in that half second before sleep, it hits them like a siren in the skull. You were the only real thing they ever touched, and now every imitation feels like plastic. Every hug, every kiss, every laugh. Counterfeit currency in a world that once held gold. You see, that's the cost of betraying the rare. Nothing after it feels alive. You can fill your house with noise, your bed with bodies, your mind with distractions. But the silence beneath it all hums your name like a warning. Because when you let go of the one soul that could have saved you, you don't just lose love. You lose alignment. You lose gravity. You lose God's hand on your shoulder. And the collapse doesn't stop with emotion. It spreads. The job starts to rot. The friends start to fade. The luck dries up. The spark dies out. The system that once looked solid turns into sand, slipping through every grasping hand, because energy doesn't lie. And you were the energy that kept it all spinning. You were the unseen pulse in their reality, the lightning that made their sky electric, the shadow that made their light make sense. And now, without you, they're just static, trying to recreate divinity with broken circuits. But here's the beauty they'll never admit. You didn't escape the storm. You became it. You stopped asking for closure and started writing your own scripture. You stopped trying to prove your worth and began moving like a force of nature. You didn't move on. You ascended out. Now, when they say your name, their voice cracks, not from anger, but from awe. Because they realize you didn't just survive what they did to you. You transcended it. You took betrayal and forged prophecy. You took rejection and built a kingdom from its bones. You took every too much they threw at you and turned it into power. They thought they let go of a person. They actually exiled a paradigm. And now, the entire network that thrived on your light is short-circuiting. Every lie they built collapses in sequence. Every mask slips. Every secret bleeds. Because the soul they dismissed was the one writing their code in silence. And you don't even watch anymore. You just exist, unbothered, untraceable, untouchable. Your peace became your weapon. Your calm became your crown. Your silence became the loudest sound in their world. That's evolution, not revenge, not triumph, just truth fully realized. So let them ache. Let the collapse finish its course. Let the system devour itself. It has to. That's how balance is restored. And when the dust finally settles, when the world stops shaking, when the last echo of your name fades into myth, there you'll be, standing in the afterglow, not bitter, not broken, just smiling. Because you finally understand what they never did. You were never the storm they survived. You were the sanctuary they destroyed. And the moment they let you go, the universe began writing their downfall in permanent ink. Now everything is collapsing exactly as it should. And you walk away slow through the ruins, glowing, the one they couldn't save, because you were never the one who needed saving. Huh. Quiet now. Hear that? That little shuffle in the boardroom, when your name slipped out of someone's mouth like a rumor they weren't supposed to say? That's the sound of irony chewing through concrete. The same concrete they tried to bury you under when they called you crazy. They said you'd never make it past the rubble. Remember? Unstable. Unpredictable. Too much. They laughed like hyenas, circling something they didn't understand. But you weren't losing your mind. You were losing your limits. Every breakdown, just a doorway disguised as chaos. Every insult, a breadcrumb leading you closer to something ancient, something they could feel but couldn't name. You see, they mistake your silence for surrender. They think madness is a malfunction. Ha! No. It's the system malfunctioning around you. You were never broken. You were processing at frequencies their sanity couldn't decode. And while they were collecting paychecks, you were collecting data on them. Now look at them, boardroom lights humming. Their boss, that demigod they worshipped, leans back, whispers your name like it's a classified threat. The air shifts. Everyone pretends not to react. But you know that tension, the kind that crawls down the spine when power changes hands in real time. The kind that says, "Oh, they found the one we couldn't kill." Funny, isn't it? The same people who branded you unfit, now studying your blueprint like it's a survival manual. They don't clap for profits until the market shifts. They don't fear the genius until the data confirms the myth. And you, my friend, you became the myth. They thought your fire would burn you alive, not realizing it was a controlled demolition. Your old self, your old name, your old limitations, all set ablaze so you could walk through the smoke untouched. They tried to exile you from normality. But you didn't come here to fit in, did you? You came to bend the fabric until it screamed. That meeting. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a summoning. Somewhere, behind those glass walls and tailored suits, a powerful man just felt a chill crawl up his neck and didn't know why. It's because your frequency, your so-called madness, finally pierced their sterile little system. You're the glitch they can't debug. The silence they can't predict. You make reality hesitate before responding. They're still asking each other, "Wait, is this the same person who..." Yes, it is. And no, it isn't. You killed that version. You evolved in public. And evolution, my dear, always looks insane until it becomes currency. So laugh. Laugh because you earned this symmetry. The same ones who called you crazy are now quoting your phrases in meetings they'll never credit you for. They want to study you now, tame you, package you. But they can't, because you're not a product. You're the proof that sanity was the cage all along. They're addicted to your unpredictability. You're what their algorithms can't predict, what their boardrooms can't monetize, what their bosses can't control. You're chaos with intent. You're the divine in disguise, the perfect storm that remembers who started the fire and smiles when they call it luck. Let them whisper your name. Let it circulate through their suits and systems. You don't need to crash their empire anymore. You've infected it, because the moment they called you crazy, you became untouchable. And the moment their boss said your name, you became inevitable. Hey, they still don't get it, do they? They think the story's over just because your name echoed once in that fluorescent boardroom. They have no idea what's coming. That was just the tremor before the quake. The system is trembling, and you can feel it. The way reality bends when the tables start to turn. They called you crazy because you saw too far ahead. You spoke about patterns they didn't have language for yet. You pointed at ghosts in the data, motives under the masks, intentions laced into smiles. And they laughed. But laughter is always the last sound before fear sets in. Because somewhere in their bones, they knew you were right. They just didn't want to live in a world where you were. So they labeled you. They isolated you. They tried to compress the infinite into a box with your name on it. A warning label for others. But you stayed silent. You watched. You learned. You didn't need validation. You needed time. Time to sharpen. Time to adapt. Time to become something they couldn't measure. And now, you are the thing they measure against. They run your ideas through spreadsheets, trying to make sense of your unpredictability. They hire consultants to explain you. They turn your madness into modules, your instincts into metrics. But none of it fits, because you are not data. You're the glitch in the equation, the reason their models collapse. You're what happens when a human soul refuses to stay within human limits. Remember when they said, "You'll regret this path"? They didn't know the path wasn't leading you. You were building it, brick by brick, bleeding on every stone until it turned gold. Remember when they whispered, "You've changed"? Of course you did. The cocoon doesn't apologize for shredding itself to let the wings through. Now they sit in that room, your name hanging in the air like a siren. The boss says it once, softly, but it hits like thunder. The assistants glance up. The interns freeze. Someone types it into Google just to check the spelling. And in that moment, every single person in that room feels the hierarchy shift. Just slightly, like gravity realigning itself toward you. You've become a topic, an agenda item, a problem to be solved and a phenomenon to be studied. And all you had to do was survive. You didn't fight for approval. You absorbed their rejection until it became armor. Every insult, every dismissal, every eye roll became another layer of bulletproof resolve. They called you crazy because they needed to believe you were wrong. Because if you weren't, they'd have to question everything about themselves. But now the evidence is stacking. Their metrics are trembling. Their boss, that polished deity of corporate control, just admitted what none of them dared to say out loud. You were right. They'll never say it directly, of course. They'll mask it in business terms. That approach was interesting, or maybe we underestimated their potential. But you'll hear it. You'll feel the tension behind every word, because acknowledgement is their new form of surrender. And isn't it poetic? The same ones who mocked your instability are now stable only because of you. The same ones who said you'd never make it are now building strategies based on your old notebooks. The same voices that called you a liability now whisper your name like a password to relevance. They told you your emotions were too much. Now they call it vision. They told you your intensity was dangerous. Now they call it leadership. They told you to calm down. Now they're begging you to teach them how to ignite. You didn't just prove them wrong. You rewired the entire definition of what wrong even means. And the best part? You never needed revenge. The collapse was automatic. You just had to keep walking through the fire while they argued about whether it was real. You didn't defeat them with noise. You defeated them with consistency. Quiet, relentless, surgical. They're realizing too late that your so-called insanity was intuition under extreme pressure. that what they mocked as delusion was foresight wrapped in trauma. You weren't out of control. You were out of their control. That's why the boss said your name, not as a compliment, but as a confession. They've seen the numbers. They've seen the shift. They know who started it. So now, while they scramble to copy your formula, remember this: you were never meant to fit their frame. You were the hammer built to shatter it. Keep that smirk, the one they said was unnerving. Keep that silence that makes rooms colder when you enter. Keep that unpredictability they call dangerous. Because danger is just another word for power they don't understand. They called you crazy, and now they call you case study. They called you unstable, and now they call you trendsetter. They called you lost, and now they're looking for you. You didn't just survive the ridicule, you weaponized it. You turned every insult into an ignition, every rejection into radiation, every wound into wisdom. And now, every time your name is spoken in that building, it's not just a name. It's a prophecy. The system is folding inward, the hierarchy's shaking, the mask is slipping. You don't need applause. You are the applause. You are the silence after the revelation. You are the moment they realize the crazy one was the only one awake. So let them talk. Let them tremble. Let their boss say your name again. Because deep down, they know. You were never crazy. You were the test, and they failed it. That meeting wasn't just a fluke, was it? You felt it, that strange ripple in the air, like the universe just chuckled under its breath. They said your name, the same name they used to drag through mud, mock in whispers, laugh at in group chats. Now it's echoing in boardrooms under dim corporate lights. It's poetic, really. The same sound they used to spit out as an insult is now being spoken like a prophecy. You remember how it felt, don't you? When you were the joke, the warning, don't end up like them. They called you reckless, unstable, dangerous. But what they didn't understand is that danger isn't a flaw. It's a frequency. You weren't breaking down, you were breaking through. Every time they told you to be realistic, what they meant was stay predictable. Because predictable people are easy to control, easy to ignore, easy to forget. But you burned the script. You started improvising in a language made of instinct, scars, and timing. And now, their whole operating system is glitching. See that word? Crazy. It's what the frightened call the free. It's what the sheep call the wolf right before the forest goes quiet. They didn't realize that your chaos wasn't dysfunction. It was design. You were never meant to color inside their lines. You were meant to redraw the entire canvas while they argued about the crayons. Now the boss knows your name. The circle has closed. The predator they mocked has entered the data feed. Your voice travels between their wires like an infection wrapped in curiosity. Who's this person? They ask. Where did they come from? Oh, they know where. The same shadows they threw you into. You built an empire down there while they blinked. It's poetic. The same ones who told you to calm down are now losing sleep trying to keep up with the storm you became. Their world runs on numbers, but you're running on inevitability. You are the equation that doesn't balance, the variable they didn't account for, the proof that insanity is just insight in its rawest, unfiltered form. Remember how they said you were too emotional? And now they're hiring consultants to learn how to connect authentically. Remember how they said your intensity was bad for business? And now they're branding it as vision. The truth never changed, only their vantage point did. Because the moment power shifts, perception follows. You didn't evolve in comfort, you evolved in exile. While they were networking, you were disassembling reality and reprogramming it from the inside. You learned the quiet art of turning humiliation into strategy, pain into pattern recognition, and madness. You turned that into a method. You weaponized every scar until your reflection became unrecognizable, even to yourself. And that's why you scare them now. Not because you're loud, but because you're inevitable. Because no matter how much they deny it, they feel it. That gravitational pull around your name. You've become a concept, not a competitor. A myth disguised as a human. They whisper your name like a glitch they can't patch. A ghost in their machinery that refuses to be deleted. The same crazy they laughed at is now the pulse their entire system depends on. You infected the architecture. You didn't climb their ladder. You melted it down and built a throne from the scrap. Now they're staring at it, wondering if it's too late to pretend they saw your potential all along. But don't you dare forget. They didn't believe in you when it was dark. They only came crawling back when the light started bending around you. They'll call it coincidence. They'll call it timing. But deep down, they know. They witnessed the impossible and can't explain it. That's why they'll never say it out loud. You were right. You, the one they tried to erase. You, the one they labeled as unstable. You, the one who vanished for a season and came back rewritten. Now you stand in every conversation they have about innovation, courage, risk. You're in the PowerPoints, the proposals, the algorithms. They plagiarized your rebellion and called it strategy. But you don't need their validation. You became the validation. Because they can build systems, but you built momentum. They can train employees, but you trained the universe to recognize your frequency. Every eye that rolls at your name still contributes energy to your orbit. Every whisper builds your legend. Every insult fertilized your evolution. You are not the underdog anymore. You are the consequence, the living reminder of what happens when someone refuses to die quietly. So when you hear your name in their meetings, smile. Don't gloat. Don't post. Don't react. Just remember, you didn't need their table. They needed your name to keep theirs relevant. They called you crazy because you were early. Now you're legendary because you never stopped. Let them study your patterns. Let them scramble to catch up. Because the punchline is simple. The crazy one built the blueprint. The rest are still taking notes. And when they finally realize what you've become, it'll already be too late. Of course, let's take that moment where your name hit the air in that meeting and stretch it until you can feel the static crawling up your skin. The boss said it like a question, testing it, tasting it. The room went still. A few tried to keep typing, pretending to work. But their fingers hesitated over the keys. That's the sound of collective memory waking up. Wait, weren't we the ones who said that person lost it? That's what amuses you now, isn't it? Watching reality rearrange itself. You didn't beg for vindication. You let time do the talking. Every night you spent in the dark, rewriting yourself, tearing open the lies they fed you. Time was recording. Now playback has started, and their faces don't match the script anymore. They called you crazy because your rhythm didn't match theirs. You refused to march in their straight lines, refused to keep smiling at their shallow gods. You looked at the machine and said, "What happens if I pull this wire?" They panicked, called it rebellion. But it wasn't rebellion. It was curiosity sharpened by pain. And pain, that was your professor. It taught you things no mentor ever could. It taught you how to recognize truth by its temperature. It burns, doesn't it? You learn to hold it until your hands turn steady. They call that madness. You call it clarity. When they built their towers, you built pressure. When they attended meetings, you attended the silence between your thoughts. While they chased comfort, you chased coherence. Now you move like a paradox. Calm eyes, violent precision. You don't react, you radiate. And they're feeling it, even if they don't know what to call it yet. Look at them now. Your name sits on their agenda slides, dressed up in bullet points and corporate language. They use terms like visionary, disruptive, non-linear thinker. Those are just sanitized versions of crazy. But it's different when the system starts to depend on your chaos. That's when they rebrand it as genius. Every empire does this. First they mock, then they mimic, then they kneel. And the kneeling part? That's what makes you smirk. Because you didn't ask for worship, you just wanted to exist. But existence, when it's pure, terrifies people who only know how to perform. They talk about innovation, yet every idea they have bleeds through filters and permissions. You don't ask for permission, you move. That's why they can't predict you. That's why the boss says your name like it's both a risk and a solution. You've become the mirror none of them can look into for too long, because when they do, they see themselves unmasked, small, mechanical, terrified. You remind them what it means to feel too much, want too much, risk too much. And secretly, they envy it. They envy the way you don't flinch at your own fire. They envy the way you walked through every failure like it was baptism. They laughed when you were at your lowest. They mistook your silence for defeat. But silence is never empty. It's pregnant with consequence. Now consequence has arrived in a suit, holding your name in a meeting room. That's karma's sense of humor. No flames, no vengeance. Just recognition disguised as logistics. They'll say it was luck. They'll say it was timing. They'll build new stories to protect their pride. Let them. You don't need to correct them anymore. Every narrative they invent still orbits you. Because deep down, they know. You didn't go crazy. You went cosmic. You started thinking on frequencies that cracked the ceiling they worshipped. They thought you were losing touch with reality, when in truth reality was losing touch with you. Now you walk through rooms like gravity, shifted in your favor. You don't chase attention. Attention folds itself toward you. They still talk about branding and strategy. You talk to storms. You negotiate with silence. And somehow, it all works. That's the part they'll never decode. Your madness wasn't random. It was architecture. Every collapse, every exile, every night you screamed into the void. You were building something precise, invisible, inevitable. So when they say your name now, it carries weight. It carries every insult they ever threw, now melted into relevance. It carries the sound of their old laughter turning into apology. It carries your old self, watching from the shadows, whispering, "See? We made it." You could walk back into that office if you wanted to. You could sit at their table and smile politely while they scramble to prove their worth. But you don't need to, because you realized the real power isn't being invited in. It's knowing you can collapse the room just by being mentioned. Let them have their meetings. You've already rewritten the agenda. Your ideas seeped through their walls long ago. They'll keep calling you crazy in public and consulting your shadow in private. That's the final joke. You didn't need revenge. You just needed patience. Because now, every time your name is spoken in that sterile boardroom, it's not just recognition, it's ritual. It's their way of saying, without saying it, "We were wrong about you." And you just keep walking. Because the truly crazy ones. Never stop creating the future the sane can't handle yet.